Stop fronting, you ain't saying nothing. I'm about to make the hill type moves.
Well, hey fans, how you guys doing? It's gonna be Thursday night whenever you guys are listening to this. So welcome, and obviously we just have one more day until the week 5 of the high school football season kicks off. We're really excited about it. I'm joined here with D6 Sports Network analyst Jim Hammett, and we are going to be talking about this past week's games. We had 5 games that were really, kind of conference leaders and whatnot. So we're going to get into those real quick. We're going to get you our Heisman ratings for Week 5, power rankings, and more. And then we're going to take a look at the Week 5 games, which we really have a great number of those here this week as well. So, to start things off, let's look at Blacklick Valley and Wimber, Jim.
Yeah, no, it was a great to get up to Wimber Stadium to see a game. What a historic venue it was, and how hospitable they were. They had drinks and food ready for us. Just gave us all the space we needed. Wimber is a class act. Mr. DeMarco, the athletic director, he did a great job being very good to us. So I hope you guys got a chance to watch it. It's up on our site. Check out the game. It was a good game to watch, and it was good because we got to see a couple good running backs. We saw Johnny Sheasley, the Blacklick Valley running back. He can really do it all, and he was one of the better players we've seen all year. Then we got to see Dustin Blau fronting the Wimber running attack. And man, that kid could run in the second half. He put on a show in that third quarter.
Yeah, Jim, not to look too far ahead right now, but, Wimber obviously has this matchup against Ligonier coming up, and we're going to be talking about that later. But how good must that have felt for Wimber to put together a game plan and execute just like they did? Their offensive and defensive line both were really dominating throughout the game. Really wore Blacklick Valley down. And to kind of come out and execute that offensive game plan, though, with Blau kind of steamrolling it in the second half was really beneficial, I think, to Wimber looking forward.
Yeah, a lot of questions going into Wimber this season is how would they fare without the Colin Bryan. We saw last year he went down with an injury, and they weren't even to do anything against North Star. This year they have about 3 or 4 running backs, a couple good receivers. We saw Matt Barkley make some plays. The quarterback guy can throw the ball a little bit. So Wimber has a pretty deep, complete team. It's not one of their better teams of all time, but it's a good team, and it's only going to get better. We're going to be interested to see how they match up with AA Ligonier. Ligonier hasn't been really tested yet. Wimber, this was their first test, and they passed it with flying colors. So it's going to be a good game, and we're going to talk about it later. But sticking with Wimber, we like what we saw with Blau, Neri running the ball out of the fullback position, the Tomlinson bros on those counters. Barkley, I think he had 3 interceptions, 2 of them were called back. So he's a really dynamic threat. So Wimber has a lot of weapons, a lot of tools, and they're definitely going to be a team that's they're right up there with the Wimbers and with the Berlins and the Northern Bedfords of the world.
Yeah, one other player that wanted to highlight really quick was 75 Shane Almodovar for Wimber. If you guys, again, were watching this on our site, you saw him making plays. He's a defensive tackle and making plays all over the field, 10 yards downfield at times. He actually got hurt at the end of the game, but a big shout out to him, one of the better defensive players that we've seen this year.
Yeah, talking a lot about Wimber, but we can't forget about the other team. Blacklick Valley has a tremendous running back, Johnny Sheasley. He did not have a lot of holes. The Blacklick Valley line was not giving him a lot of room to run. But he has great balance, great lateral movement. He could toe the sideline and go for 10 yards. He really willed that team to be in that game. We saw that crazy ending to the first half where we thought, maybe Blacklick would make this a game. He lined up at quarterback after playing running back the whole half and chucked a 45-yard touchdown. He's a throwback player. He does everything for Blacklick Valley, and he's one heck of a football player.
The season's not even half over yet, but looking down the road at if you're a potential recruiter recruiting this kid, guys, this is a can't miss player in the Division II, 1AA ranks, in my opinion. Really can put a team on his back, like we saw with Blacklick not opening up the holes, and he was just making plays in every way possible. So yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah, Dan, I'd have to agree with that college recruiting thing. If he played in Laurel Highlands, you would know a lot more about this kid. Playing in the Westpac and also playing on a bad team the past couple years. He was not, you heard of him, you didn't know, you're probably just like, oh, he's just another Westpac player. No, he's really good. He could play at IUP. He could play in wherever in the PSAC. He's that good, and I hope colleges recognize that.
Absolutely. So from there, we're going to jump into the LHAC here real quick, and we're going to go over Bishop Guilfoyle at Forest Hills. That was another premier matchup this past week, and it was an interesting result. 14-0 Bishop Guilfoyle shutting out Forest Hills at home. A couple things were standing out to me during the game, such as Forest Hills still finding an identity. BG's defense really looked pretty tough. There's a couple different storylines here, but Jim, why don't you start us off with?
Well, a big thing for Forest Hills, looking at this game is, we saw in the Bishop McCourt game, we got to see that live, self-inflicted wounds, turnovers, dumb penalties, stuff like that. And looking at the film on this game, a lot of the same things. You have to take in consideration Joe Donahue, the spectacular sophomore quarterback. He got hurt. So that put Forest Hills in a tough situation. Shima came in, did an admirable job at quarterback, but obviously you'd like to have Donahue, the guy that's, he's been putting up numbers, doing a great job. And yet you have to look into that. And also, Jared Shope, a guy we really like, we think he's one of the better players out there. He has about 1 million pounds of padding on his knee right now. You can tell he's not the same player. He doesn't have that same spring, that same step. So having you can't use him in reverses or the running game. He's doing a nice job on the 10-yard routes or, breaking a couple. He had a big, long catch this week, but he's not the same player when he's 100% healthy. So it's, Forest Hills kind of hands tied behind their back. They're, we didn't think they would struggle this much, but obviously the way things are going, they're going to need to turn it around quickly.
Yeah, Jim, you're right. I mean, all things point to sort of a down year at Forest Hill just as far as the numbers go. Having a much smaller team than they're used to as well, that could hurt as well. But obviously you have a veteran coach in Don Bailey. You figure that they're going to be able to find something out. Obviously, we've always been saying Joe Donahue is an excellent quarterback, and he will be. But one thing that I saw watching this game was, I was wondering why they weren't going to Dell more, kind of just trying to grind it out more or less. It seemed like Dell was getting, about 3 or 4 yards a clip there at times during the game. And, they would just go then back to play action passes, just sending one receiver down the field and things like that. So you got to wonder as far as the play calling goes there. But, maybe there's something there that we don't know about.
Yeah, obviously there's more than we can tell just by watching the game. Not taking anything, Forest Hills, they could play better. I believe they're a better team than what they're showing, but we have to give some credit to Bishop Guilfoyle and how they're playing football early on in the season. We didn't know how they would be going in the year. We didn't know Brandon Chadburn would be the quarterback. Not only is he the quarterback, he's doing an excellent job. You have a bunch of other different guys, Sam McCluskey playing some running back, DJ Kitt, Irwin, they have a lot of familiar names, good players, but the way they're playing defense right now is the thing that really sticks out to me. You take away that Richland game, it's hard to just say take away, but they've only given up 7 points in the other 3 games. Richland, we know they have a dynamic offense, and actually Guilfoyle held them to 30 points, which is their lowest output. So you have to understand for a single A team and what they're doing, they have a great defense. They're hard hitting, they're physical, and they make turnovers happen and make plays happen. So they're definitely a team moving forward in Laurel Highlands that, for a while we just thought, okay, they're doing okay. Now they're a pretty good team, and they're a team to watch out for, be reckoned with.
Yeah, Jim, you said it perfectly there about that defense. Led by one of their defensive tackles who we covered during baseball season, Jexton Pugh. They're just a really aggressive defense, and not just as far as blitzing goes or whatnot. They're more conservative in that respect. Once they know where the ball is going, they really get to it fast. Really aggressive ball hawking type defense. What I was comparing their film to Bishop McCourt's film this year, and it seems like Guilfoyle has a much better pass defense than McCourt has had this year so far. So, things just kind of comparing different teams in the Laurel Highlands, and it definitely looks like Bishop Guilfoyle is kind of pulling out ahead of a few other teams there.
Absolutely. So, looking ahead to next week, we're going to talk about Guilfoyle's game. They have a huge showdown with Penn Cambria. But we're not going to talk about every game this week and our picks later in the week. So we're going to try to touch a little bit on the Forest Hills Cambria Heights game. Both teams are 2-2. Forest Hills right now is currently sitting 9th in the district playoffs, so that they would not be in. So for playoff seeding and purposes like that, both these teams are going to be fighting for that 7-8 spot. So it's obviously a big win, it would be a big win for either team. The game is in Patton. Not always an easy place to play. Cambria Heights with that big physical running style. Forest Hills, they might not have their quarterback. So just a brief pick, just to have it out there. I like Cambria Heights. It's just going to be the way they're playing. Forest Hills they can't seem to have an offensive flow.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of seems like we're looking to every game that they play Forest Hills, and we're like, okay, now they're going to find it on offense. Sort of like the Tyrone, how they've been this year. But, we're going to see, that's obviously, Jim, like you said, a huge matchup in the northern section of the LHAC this week. So, all right, now from there, we're going to just head up south to Richland, and we had Johnstown versus Richland. This, in the years past, this has been a big sort of, even rivalry game, really close matches, but this year proved to be different.
Absolutely, and we know Johnstown, they're dealing with some issues right now. A couple seniors quit on the team, so they're still dealing with those kind of issues, while Richland, on the other hand, they're just clicking on all cylinders. They're playing great football. And we saw, who the better team was. We knew who the better team was. And, Richland's offense is just something to behold this season. Johnstown, their big issue all year is they haven't been able to score points. And, being shut out by Richland, it just adds to that. They're just struggling to find an identity, We're going into week 5, and we really don't know how they're going to score points moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim, you said it, the inability to score points is crucial. Just to take a look at Richland's defense and how they've sort of been improving on the year. Let up 20 points in their opening game, then the next 2 weeks 12 and 14, and then this week 0. So shout out to Coach Smith up there, the defensive coordinator of Richland, really making it hard for teams to do anything, especially when you have a formidable offensive attack. That just makes matters worse. But Jim, I don't know if you want to touch on anything as far as Richland goes, or more of Johnstown's worries, because they have a lot this year.
Yeah, Johnstown, it's just, with the quarterback situation, we don't know who's going to be the quarterback now. Dion Moore's been lining up there. He's not a passing quarterback in any sense. They just throw him back there because he can make plays. And so we're going to see what happens there. We look into the future. We know they have about 4 or 5 guys. They can make plays. They can run the ball and do certain things. So they're a good team going into next year. You're definitely going to watch out for. But unless something happens soon, Johnstown's they might be out of the playoff picture. We know they have a big game with Somerset this week down in Somerset. After Somerset getting upset by Westmont, we know they're beatable now. Johnstown beat Westmont. Westmont beat Somerset. So, it's some hope for Johnstown to turn things around and, make something happen.
All right, folks, and we're going to get into Richland a little bit later here. We're bringing you the live game, Richland and Bishop McCourt at Hurlinger Field this Friday at 7 o'clock. So tune into our site and, stay tuned for the further podcast details about Richland and their pretty amazing season that they've had so far. So from there, we are going to head to the Heritage Conference. And we had another really interesting showdown was Blairsville and Northern Cambria. I would say the Heritage Conference, unlike any other conference that we cover, Jim, has been more unpredictable than any other. Northern Cambria losing to Homer Center, Northern Cambria beating Penn's Manor, just different things. And Ligonier seem to be as really steamrolled so far, but they have not played that stiff competition that the Heritage has this year. This Blairsville team, though, they're a tough bunch. Like they'll play tough with anybody. And Northern Cambria definitely found out. Northern Cambria won 29-26, so it was definitely a close show.
Yeah, and Blairsville had the lead late in that game. Northern Cambria came back to win the game. We thought Blairsville coming into the season they'd be young, inexperienced, and they're gaining confidence, gaining experience. Scott Thompson had another big game. He threw for 200 yards. He's the leading rusher on that team. He's just a sophomore. He's 6'5". He's a big a good athlete. So, Blairsville with him, they have a chance the next couple seasons, him leading the offense. And it's a second straight week. Blairsville had to go and play a tough game. They had to go to Ligonier last week, then they have Northern Cambria this past week. So it's, they're playing in big games, and they have another one coming up. So they're getting the toughness of the Heritage all right in a row. So we're really going to see what they're made of. Northern Cambria, they had the big win in week 1, the letdown in week 2. And they beat United. Then this week they came back and had to beat Blairsville in a hard-fought game. So, it's kind of been an up and down show for them. We've always talked about we like Hogan at quarterback, we like Politis. Apologize on the name because. This is a doozy. Dardigan Suker, the running back, he's been coming on strong lately for Northern Cambria. So, we thought Zacheski would be the main guy, but obviously Sucher is playing some pretty good running back. And again, apologize on the name, we don't know. But it showed some good fight for Northern Cambria to come back, win a close conference game.
Well, Jim, we looked at a game in the LHAC. Last week, which was Cambria Heights and Bishop Guilfoyle, and Bishop Guilfoyle sort of pulled that out in sort of the same fashion that Northern Cambria did against Blairsville. Guilfoyle was down in that game to Heights. Northern Cambria is down in this game against Blairsville, and it really just kind of showed the team motivation and kind of that team dedication that we're going to get through these tough games, and that's sort of what it's all about. And especially the Heritage Conference, you're in D6 Single A in Northern Cambria, you're looking to get into the playoffs, you're going to have to win those hard-fought games.
Absolutely, you need every win you can get, and looking forward to them this upcoming week. They're going to play Purchase Line. That's definitely a winnable game for them, another home game. Then things get a little bit difficult. They still have Ligonier and Cambria Heights on the schedule. Then in 2 weeks, at Berlin, a District 5 power, big game. It's Westpac versus Heritage. So, they have some difficult games coming up. So, they got to get the wins where they can. And, I'm looking for them to move to 4-1 this week. Blairsville, we're not going to talk about the game. A little brief discussion. They're going to play Homer Center. Homer Center, one of those surprise 4-0 teams, and it's just going to be a hard-fought game. It's hard for Blairsville that it's their third straight big game, so you don't know what to expect. So that's just definitely one of the games to watch in the Heritage this week. Check out Homer Center and Blairsville if you can.
Absolutely, yeah. Blairsville's ability to kind of keep it close in every game has really been interesting. Even that Ligonier game, they kind of kept it close in the third quarter. So, guys, from there, we are going to headline one more game from this past week, and then we're going to get into some other really interesting stuff. But we have our last game here. Chestnut Ridge is coming in at 1-3, playing Bald Eagle, a team that I've really been a fan of, just the way they've sort of been winning when no one thought they would. Bald Eagle ended up pulling out that game, and it's really interesting to kind of see the progress that Bald Eagle has been making every game, even though they're sort of a team that really doesn't have a lot of offensive output whatsoever, but they're a team that find a way to win.
Yeah, and the thing in football, finding a way to win is better than being a good team sometimes. We just mentioned how Homer Center, they're one of those surprise 4-0 teams. Bald Eagle is the other surprise 4-0 team. Nobody thought they would get here. Again, they haven't played the best of teams yet, so we're going to find out this upcoming week. They're going down to Martinsburg, or we're going to see what they do against Central. Then they have Tyrone coming up, so they have two big games within the Mountain League, the two classes of the Mountain League coming up. But you got to look at Bald Eagle's ability to win close games. They beat Chestnut Ridge here just by 2 points. In the week before that, they won by 1 point. So it's always important that you have the confidence in close games to be able to hang on or make that play to win you the game, that secure you the win. And some of these teams that win every game by 30, come playoff time when they're playing teams just as good as them, they don't know how to react in those kind of situations. Mm-hmm. It's good for Bald Eagle that they've been able to play some tight games, find ways to win in tight games. 4-0 is 4-0. You can't take anything away from them.
Yeah, you're totally right, Jim. Just the fact that they know what it is all about, to play in those games, just like, playoff atmospheres. But, looking at the schedule, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm looking at the schedule right now, and they have at Central, like you said, next week. And then they have Tyrone at home. Then they have a Huntington team that has not won a game yet. But then they have Clearfield, and then another Bellefonte team who's average, and then Ligonier Valley. So you got at Central, then you have a Tyrone who's really kind of bringing it all together, Clearfield and Ligonier Valley. That's quite the doozy as far as the schedule goes.
Yeah, and so, obviously with playoffs, you get points for however many wins the teams you beat. So, if they were able to get one win against, a Ligonier, mm-hmm. well, they get that extra 10 points for every Ligonier win. So that's obviously 90 extra points or something of that nature. Mm-hmm. So, if they could pull off one of those wins, it's going to go a long way come playoff time because, I don't see Bald Eagle remaining on this undefeated path, but I can see them getting to 6 wins, 7 wins, So we're going to see, they just need to have a big win on their resume for the playoffs. Then, we haven't touched on Chestnut Ridge yet. So, again, they're 1-3. they're playing this statewide, interstate schedule all over the place, and it has to wear on the kids knowing 1 week we're going to Reading, some weeks we're going to Maryland, we're going to Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
It's just a crazy schedule, and you just hope for these kids' sake that they find a conference, a steady home, to play their games in.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of an unfortunate thing. We've heard in the past, rumors about them going to, different conferences here and there. But, Jim, like you said, hopefully they can kind of get some fortitude there, even though, if the program might not be behind them the whole way, just, as far as traveling distance goes and whatnot. So, we wish them the best. And so, folks, that's gonna round up here our Week 4 brief, and then we are also going to get into our Heisman rankings after this. This is something that's really been interesting to kind of see how it changes week in and week out, but we have some steady guys there. Also, power rankings, team power rankings, AA and single A, and then we're going to get into our Week 5 games, so stay tuned. Okie dokie fans, we're back here with, we'll get into a little bit of our ranking action here. We'll let Jim start off with first. We're going to start out with our Heisman rankings. We picked the top 3 players from the area, and it's more or less on a week-by-week basis, but we do keep into account past performances. But, there's really some great players out there still, but there are also a few that are kind of, breaking away from the pack. So, Jim, we'll let you start off here with your third pick.
Yeah, we've seen different guys come in and out of here. Danny Ferentz, Austin Cunningham, James Oliver, Tyron. There's a lot of great players, a lot of guys putting up some big numbers. But this week, I'm going to start things off with a guy that's been in there for me for 3 straight weeks, Drew Glotfeldy of Berlin. He's been the real catalyst to that team. Their 4-0 start. He has 693 yards on the season and 10 touchdowns. That's $173 a game. He also has 6 catches for 78 yards and another score, and he has 2 interceptions. So he's a versatile player. He does a lot for Berlin, and that team would not be where they are without him. So you have to take in consideration the value to the team. Also, my other a new face this week, he is Casey Gray. We got to see him live week 1 against Tyrone, and he put on a show, and he's been pretty much doing that week by week. He has 556 yards on the ground, 8 touchdowns. That's 139 yards a game. He also has 5 catches for 95 yards and a score. He's returned 1 for a touchdown. He has an interception on defense. He's only a junior. He's one of the best juniors in the district, and definitely one of the keys to Bellwood's success. And the guy I'm sticking at my top spot this week, you can't deny the numbers. The efficiency of Matt Schaefer, 45 for 60 passing. He's completing 75% of his passes, an absurd amount. 707 yards, 10 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He also is running for 169 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, he's leading this potent Richland offense, just a junior himself, and he's having a tremendous season.
Yeah, those are all good picks there. My picks last week, I had Drew Glotfeldy at number 3. This week, I went with Danny Ferentz. Jim, I know you've said his name a few times here in the past, our past few podcasts, but Danny Ferentz has really been doing things under the radar after that week 1 loss. He had 262 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns last week against the United team, who was obviously not that strong. But nevertheless, he also had a throwing touchdown, and really he's, like you said about your players, Jim, he's sort of that cog in the offense at Pennsylvania that keeps things rolling. So we're going to keep him at number 3. What I liked about him, though, the most is, and we were talking about this before, is his ability to make a play on any single down. Doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 30 or 1st and 10. Now I'm going to keep Austin Cunningham there at number 2. He didn't have the best game. He was 8 of 11 for 120 yards passing with a touchdown. Also 86 rushing yards and a touchdown. I just like him, Jim. We said he had 2 receiving touchdowns against Clearfield. He's sort of that guy that you can put as a coach, an offensive coordinator, you can really put him in any role and he would excel. So I'm going to stick him in number 2. And then 1, I'm going to stay with Matt Schaefer, who I've had the whole year. He was 10 of 16, 173 TDs. Also rushed for 50 yards and a touchdown. So, hoping that, all these guys can really stick through, because I have confidence in all 3 of these guys. Really going to see what Schaefer is, what his whole deal is here this week against McCourt, and we're looking forward to it. So from there, we're going to head to our team rankings. We just do single A and double A here, folks. Jim, do you want to start off with our rankings?
Yeah, I'll do single A first. Number 5, I have Bishop McCourt right now. They're sitting at 3-1. They haven't impressed just yet, but they're always a team in the single A playoffs. Even if they're struggling in the regular season at Laurel Highland schedule, you expect them to be one of those 2 or 3 teams in it towards the end. Number 4, sticking with Northern Bedford. They're just playing good football quietly. You talk about the other teams in District 5. You don't always mention Northern Bedford, but I like what they're doing. Over's doing a good job at quarterback, and they're just a well-coached team. Number 3, I have Bishop Guilfoyle jumping into the rankings. I'm just so impressed with what they're doing on defense. Just finding ways to win. Winning 2 tough games against 2 good AA opponents in Cambria Heights and Forest Hills. Number 2. The class of District 5 single A, and that's Berlin. And that train just keeps rolling along. And number 1, sticking with Bellwood from that first week. They're just such an impressive bunch. And talking about Casey Gray, Worthing at quarterback, and of course Coach Sean Hayes, legend up there.
Jim, I'm pretty much along the same lines there as you. I have McCord also at 5. Then for number 4, I stuck in Berlin. I would have liked to see more out of their offensive output just from a passing standpoint. We covered them in the passing league this year up at Richland High School. And Blake Miller really looked pretty good, but this season they haven't been getting the offensive output that, aside from obviously Gladfeldt, the offensive output hasn't been there. I put Guilfoyle at number 3 just for the fact that their defense, really, really impressed me watching them on film, comparing them to other teams. Team that I have at number 2, which I had them at last week, was Penn's Manor. Just, Danny Ferens, you can't say enough about him. If you look at any player on film, I would say that he impresses me the most. So I'm going to keep them at number 2, ability to say in any game, and then obviously Bellwood Annis at 1.
Good picks, and moving into AA. Number 5, I'm finally buying in. I have Bald Eagle at number 5. Just the ability we talked about earlier, they can win close games, and they're finding ways to win. 4-0, like we said, is no joke. Number 4, Ligonier Valley, the Rams. They're just moving along with that great rushing attack. We know they play a bunch of single A teams, but you can't deny the numbers and can't deny what they're doing. Number 3, sticking with Central Martinsburg. There, we just they had such a tough game up there in Clearfield, and they hung around, made a great game out of it. They have so many weapons on offense, and their defense is just really good. Number 2, speaking of great defense, Penn Cambria. You look at their box scores week by week. They never have a 100-yard rusher. They have about 7-8 guys they'll give the ball to comfortably. They're not about the stats. They're just about the wins. And Coach Fetzer has them playing well. This is one of his best runs at Penn Cambria. Number 1, sticking with the juggernaut offensively, Richland. The numbers they're putting up this year are just unbelievable. And we're finally starting to see their defense is coming close to how their offense is performing. So if they have both things clicking, they're just going to be impossible to beat.
Sounds good. You know what? I actually took Bald Eagle out of my top 5.
Really?
I sold out on them. I was there the whole year with them so far. I took them out, and I don't know why, really, Jim, but I put it in Heights. I think just by looking at, if you compare Bald Eagle's upcoming schedule and Heights' upcoming schedule, Heights has much more opportunity to get some quality wins. They still get to play like Central Cambria, Bishop Carroll. They have their huge Forest Hills game this week. So if they can beat Forest Hills, they're in the driver's seat for a playoff contention. So they're going to go at number 5 for me. Then pretty much I have the same here at 4 and 3 for you. I have Ligonier and then Central Martinsburg, and then obviously you and I this whole year we have disagreed on the 1 and 2 in AA. I have Richland at 2 and Penn Cambria number 1. Penn Cambria, I really like Mac Bay. He's all over the field on defense, and he's just a threat whenever you're on offense as well. Just his playmaking ability. He's not the fastest kid. He is one of the biggest kids, I'll say that, but he's always going to keep your team in contention.
Picks, and we're looking forward to, I think, a Week 7 matchup. Could be an undefeated showdown, a Richland-Penn Cambria game. Obviously that'll be a big game, a big disagreement between the two of us, as we have all year. So, it's interesting. The first 4 weeks, we're seeing what teams are emerging. These next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to start seeing jockeying for playoff positions. So, keep an eye on that, and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about the Week 5 matchups.
Okay, so here we are at our Week 5 games, breaking them down, getting in the X's and O's, and what you can expect this week. We have we've a lot of film that we've been able to study with, most of these teams and whatnot, and as well as a plethora of stats. So, really looking forward to kind of giving you these like really good breakdowns. So, our first one is going to be North Star at Berlin, a huge Westpac showdown. North Star only one loss on the season, first game against Portage. They're traveling to Berlin, so going to be a huge matchup. Berlin, the offensive output that they've been able to put up has really been impressive. So, Jim, what are your storylines on that game?
Yeah, obviously, and to start off with the 5 games we're going to break down, all 5 are pretty much worthy of us being our game of the week. A lot of great matchups. You're getting in late season, mid-season, a lot of big games, and North Star Berlin. I think the first storyline you got to look at is this the Westpac game of the year? Is this going into the season? Yeah, it was. These two teams are still capable of winning the conference and the district. We thought this would be a good game, and it's going to be a good game. You start with Berlin. What can you say about their defense? They've only given up 21 points through 4 games. They've only been tested once. They were able to beat Portage on the road in a good conference road win. And other than that, they've been flat out dominant. That running game led by Drew Glotfeldy, one of our Heisman picks, he's just been tremendous this year. So you really got to like what Berlin's doing.
Yeah, comparing Berlin's offense, which really, hasn't missed a beat with North Stars. They're 2-time defending 5A champs. Obviously losing their quarterback last year, Strazier. It's been tough for them so far. They lost that Portage game, which is, really a close battle. But after that, they've had Salzburg, Ferndale, and Conemaugh Valley, beating all those teams. But it still looks like they haven't been able to find that great identity on offense, because one of their leading passers, or their leading passer, is Tony Strazier, and he's usually credited as being a wide receiver, but he has over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Then Thomas Miller, go-to guy on the ground with over 250 rushing yards. But, those offensive outputs are really nowhere near what Berlin has had so far. And it's tough for me to come out and pick North Star after, the way that they've lost to Portage and, kind of their inability to really break out in their 3 games besides that. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, and absolutely. But you got to look at who North Star is playing. They play Conemaugh Valley, Ferndale, and Salzburg. 3 of the, usually 3 of the worst teams, you hate to say it, in District 6. They're usually towards the bottom. Mm-hmm. So, some you get those afternoon games in Valley and Ferndale. Sometimes you kind of sleep through them. So, yeah, I think North Star is better than what they're showing. And, the thing, you take away Strazer from the passing game, but, at 6'5", 190, 200 pounds, he's a great athlete, one of the best athletes you'll see around here. So, if he has the ball in his hands, he can make plays with his feet. Obviously, a scrambling quarterback, they're still going to line him up at receiver. Mm-hmm. So he can do a lot of things for you. Tony's a great athlete, tremendous athlete in every sport he plays. And I do like Thomas Miller running the ball, gives them that element. Out of the tight end spot, they got Miller and Supanik catching balls. So, they have a good offense. Again, they haven't been challenged since week 1. They didn't think they would lose to Portage. At North Star, I'm sure they thought they were walking 4-0 to play Berlin 4-0. So, a little bit different. The games at Berlin, it should be a packed house. This is a game you could see possibly again in the playoffs or in the championship game in District 5. They're 2 elite teams, 2 good teams. To make a pick, I'm going to go with Berlin. They don't have a diverse offense, but they do what they do best, and they give it to Glotfeldy. He's a great running back. He's having a banner season down there for Berlin. I don't really see North Star with that unsettled quarterback situation really being able to be effective in this game.
Mm-hmm. I'm right with you on that. If I had to say, I want to say Berlin. Somewhere high 20s there, and then North Star, 14, 17 type of deal.
Sounds good. And that will bring us into our next game. It's going to feature a non-conference game and one of the biggest non-conference games of the year. We have Ligonier Valley traveling to Wimber for a 4-0 showdown. We got the chance to see Wimber last week, and we came away very impressed with what they're able to do on the ground. But Ligonier can boast a little bit of a good running game themselves.
Yeah, really the key matchup that I'm looking forward to is Ligonier's D versus the Wimber offense. Ligonier has given up something around maybe 12 points total this season or something of that nature. Playing a cross-conference game, you don't know what to expect. Yeah, you see them on film, but it's a different type of feel. It's more of a playoff feel, Jim, if you could really, pinpoint it. Ligonier obviously in Double A, Wimber in Single A, but it's really that it's going to have that atmosphere of, kind of do or die.
Absolutely, and Wimber's going to have to come out for the second straight week. We thought last week Blacklick Valley would come in, as a 3-0 team, give them some trouble, and they did for a half. But Wimber was able to flex their muscles, use their big line, and just pound that game away with Blau running the ball. This week it's not going to be as easy for Wimber. Ligonier's a big team. They're a AA school. They have a lot of kids. Not used to what Wimber's seeing. So it's going to be a different matchup, and of course, Ligonier, they're going to bring Ryan Torrance right at you, and of course, they also have another good running back. We have Chad Malsta, senior. He has 400 yards himself. So between the two, they have close to 1,000 yards. So it's a good dual threat rushing attack, and Fennell's doing a good job at quarterback. Ligonier has not always been a great passing team, but Fennell's doing a nice job, and it's just another chance for Roger Beidel to win a big game. He's been coaching there for a few years. He has yet to win a playoff game in his career. So, a win over Wimber would give them some good points because Wimber is going to have a lot of wins to add to the schedule, but they're still a single-A team. So, Ligonier only having one AA team on their schedule, they really can't afford to lose many games.
Yeah, you kind of were pointing to it there. For me, if I'm looking at this game for both teams, I would say Ligonier has more to lose in this game. They've really been hyped up in the press, obviously with their great offensive attack. But Wimber, they didn't have that many expectations coming into this year. Yeah, you had to you replaced some key seniors that left last year and whatnot. You made it to the District 5A championship, but Wimber has sort of had the luxury of being able to sort of create their own season and not have the press and us kind of making them out to be something that they're not or whatever. They're going into their games. They're winning. They're methodically winning. But if I'd have to pick the biggest storyline of this game, from my standpoint, I would think it'd have to be the injury to Shane Almodovar, who got injured in that Blacklick game, defensive tackle from Wimber, number 75. A guy on the defense that could really, make tackles behind the line of scrimmage, but at the same time make tackles 15 yards downfield. Losing a guy like that versatility really hurts, I think.
Absolutely. In Ligonier, they have that big offensive line. So, to lose one of your key players up front, it's always big. It's always big in games with single-A teams, AA teams, and not a lot of depth. So we hope he's back. Hope he's able to play. We're not sure. So to make a pick in this game, I really think it's going to be a tremendous football game. Having seen Ligonier play the past couple seasons, I haven't had a chance to see him play this season, and having a chance to see Wimber last week, they do a lot of similar things. Wimber's advantage is they run that kind of a different offense. You don't always see that wing T or single wing, and Ligonier, they kind of do something similar. So it's going to be a quick game because no one really is going to pass. So it's going to be up and down the field, but I'm going to take Ligonier. I think I like what they're doing this year. Torrance is a very good player, but Blau is the type of player for Wimber that can match his performance. So it's really a toss-up, but I'm going to take Ligonier.
Jim, I'm right with you there on Ligonier. I haven't had them in my top 5 in AA this year just because their inability to win a big game. But, I think that this game is a definite winnable big game for them. They had to play Richland in the playoffs last year. But I think, they can go into Wimber Stadium and definitely rush like they have been doing. So that's basically the bottom line. I'm going to take them about 27-21 game.
And that'll bring us into our third matchup this week. We're going to discuss Bald Eagle traveling down to Roaring Spring to play at Central Martinsburg. This will be Bald Eagle's first tough game, their first true test of the season. They've played some close games, but finally they're going to play a team that's well regarded, a good team in Central. To look at Bald Eagle, what they're doing, Dion Barnard, the running back, he's going to have to make a lot of plays. He's had some big games for them this season, and they're really going to have to rely on his abilities.
Yeah, we touched on earlier how Bald Eagle they know how to play in big games and whatnot. But Jim, you and I both got to see the Central Martinsburg team. They are a big team. They are a big AA team. They have playmakers all over the field, and it just seems like with Bald Eagle's inability to get things going on offense, they have the least amount of offensive yardage output compared to any other team that is undefeated right now. So that you have to really look at that, and is your defense going to be able to stop the Austin Cunningham Brady Moore duo? And that's really a key factor in this game because I don't think that Bald Eagle has seen the playmaking abilities of a Cunningham or Moore.
I don't know many defenses that could stop Cunningham and Moore. The things they're able to do with Cunningham being able to line up all over the field, Moore's a great receiver out of the backfield. They just have a great flow on offense. They know what they're doing, and they just attack that very well. Conrath, the fullback, he's actually a nice little weapon for them too, a little underrated, not talked about much, but he's one of the leaders on that great defense they have. Clearfield was able to put up some points on them, but we've mentioned before, Clearfield's a great offensive team, and they would be able to score on a lot of teams. So, looking at Central, they have this big game this week. Then they play Fort Hill of Maryland, one of the schools in Cumberland. They're a big school, so it's always a big game. Fort Hill, they came up, they played Ligonier last year, so they're a difficult team to prepare for. But after that, you look at their schedule, Central could very easily win out. So these two games coming up right here for them are their last real true tests before the playoffs. So obviously they'd like to get one, if not both of them, and then coast into the rest of the season.
Sounds good to me. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna jump into the Laurel Highlands here for really two of the premier games overall as far as record-wise in the area. Penn Cambria, Bishop Guilfoyle. Penn Cambria really facing a tough road test going up to Bishop Guilfoyle, especially after Guilfoyle's last two games where they've only let up 7 points total. Really finding an identity with that Guilfoyle bunch. And, that game's up in Altoona, so, it's gonna be a tough, I think, contest for Penn Cambria.
It's going to be a really tough game for Penn Cambria. What they've been doing early on is, like we've talked about before, they just have so many guys they'll give the ball to. You'll have one guy get 15 carries one game, and he'll see the ball maybe twice the next game. They just have so much confidence in everyone they give the ball to on offense. And, of course, the great defense, Devin Lawhunt, Mac Behe, the two best linebackers in the district, perhaps. Behe's coming off an all-state season, and he's gunning for another one this year. So what they do on offense, Coach Fetzer, has the two quarterback system. It's kind of unique. The two top Laurel Highlands teams each using two quarterbacks. It's kind of a little unheard of.
Yeah.
But running the ball, they'll give it to Fuller, they'll give it to Lawhead, Mardula. They have the big wide receiver in Kagi. They'll give Mardula the ball that way. Behe the ball on offense. So they have such a dynamic, balanced offense. They're hard to prepare for because you can't really key on one guy because they'll use anyone. Bishop Guilfoyle's defense, like we've talked about, we like what they're doing. That they shut down Forest Hills. They pretty much shut down Cambria Heights. Take away that Richland game, they're shutting down everyone. So they're kind of one of those surprise teams. We like Chad Byrne at quarterback. He's doing a lot. He's their leading rusher on top of playing quarterback. So it's just going to be a really good game, and obviously one of the top competitors in AA and Single A in this matchup.
Yeah, Jim. Really looking at film on Penn Cambria, it really surprises me that they're really not doing anything tricky. They're not, or even at the fact they're not throwing the ball downfield that much. They're just able to execute it. Their line is able to come off the ball stronger than any other team that we've seen on film this year. We haven't seen Forest or Richland on film, but really this team, it seems like they're very methodical in the fact that they know what they're running, and they don't care that if you have 9 people in the box that they're going to run it. They run more of a veer type of offense. We've seen a little bit of wildcat and things of that nature this year as well, but this team has the confidence they can go through the entire Laurel Highlands undefeated, especially when you have a defense led by, like we've talked about, Behe and Lawhead. They've really been unbelievable. Probably two of the hardest hitters that I've seen in the league this year. You really can't say enough about Penn Cambria, especially with the coach of Ernie Fetzer and his ability to kind of win big games like we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and making a pick this week, you can always see my Laurel Highlands picks. I make them each week. I've been doing it for a couple years. I put them on my own blog, but I always check them out on the D6 Sports Network website. They're always there. You can check them out. And I took Penn Cambria to win this game, 21-14. I really think it's going to be a tight, close, contested game. It's going to be good for Penn Cambria to get on the turf of Mansion Park, maybe a little preview down the line, get a good feel for the stadium. I like the Panthers in this matchup.
Yeah, I like what you said, that little preview for hopefully they can make it to the district championship. I'd love to see a Laurel Highlands team make it. I think that they're going to have their steady yardage, and I think, just like you said, 21, 28 points to I don't know about Guilfoyle, though. Their offensive attack, it really looked pretty basic to me, watching the Forest Hills game. It's going to be tough. We'll see if Chadburn can kind of get outside the pocket and make things happen. He's also a running threat. So, I think that Penn Cambria's going to be able to shut them down, maybe 7 points. But I think it's going to be like 21-7, 28-7, Penn Cambria. All right, folks. Well, that's going to bring us to our 5th game of the week 5. We're really looking forward to bringing this one to you. We're going to be live 100% from Hurlinger Field at 7 p.m. on Friday. as Bishop McCourt 3-1 comes into Richland, who is 4-0.
Yeah, and just talk about this game. For years and years, it was just another game on the schedule if you're looking at a Bishop McCourt standpoint. Then, boom, 2007 came along. The great Marco Pecora came into Point Stadium and took one from the Crushers, 30-27, and that really opened the ball for this being truly one of the best rivalries in the whole district. Richland has been playing great football lately. Brandon Bailey has that program completely turned around, and of course, Bishop McCourt has always been a steady program. And looking at this matchup from the past 5 seasons, you saw the 30-27 exciting win down at Point Stadium. Richland won 30-27. Then in 2008, Court jumped out to a big lead. Richland responded. Crushers came back and won it late, 38-34. Then in 2009, you saw the record-breaking performance of Josh Seidel, and the Crushers almost doubling up the Rams, 69-35. 2010, another close game up at Hurlinger Field, 16-14. McCourt prevailed. Then last year, Bishop McCourt raced out to a big 21-0 lead at half, I believe. Then Richland was able to come back and win 35-28. So, this game's always exciting. It's always good athletes on the field, offensive battles, and we're expecting a whole lot of the same this year.
Yeah, Jim, I want to start off with talking about this game first, just talking about Coach Bailey and the way that he's been able to put together a team up at Richland. We've covered Richland a number of times in the passing league this year in our spring preview series, and one of the things that he said that up at Richland, we've always had great competitors. We've always had great athletes, but it's been the fact of just bringing them together as a team. And really can't say anything but that Bailey has really been able to sort of make it a community type of thing up at Richland. The fans are involved, the alma mater people are involved, the parents are involved. It's really, a community type of team. And, for Bishop McCourt to be traveling up to Richland, it's gonna be tough sledding because, these Richland players and parents, they really have all bought into the program.
Absolutely. And Richland, this is that one game they circle every year on the calendar. The Bishop McCourt game is the game. Dealing with Bishop McCourt, they're a lot of teams' biggest game of the season. McCourt, they have that dubious task of always playing, always getting everyone's best shot. You always want to beat the Crushers. So, we're going to go up there. It's going to be a packed house at Hurlinger Field. We're expecting standing room only. It's really a game that the city and both communities have embraced. So, looking at the game itself, we've always talked about this whole year, Richland's offense. Matt Schaefer, he's having a tremendous season. He's putting up numbers like you wouldn't believe. And, of course, Tanner Solarchik just meshes so well into that offense at running back. The key of the game is, the rumors are out there. Kyle Flick, we know he got hurt last week. We don't know if he's playing Friday. We would expect to see him play. It's going to be hard to keep a kid like that off the field in such a big game. But obviously, with his presence on the field really dictates the game. It opens up Richland's offense. He's one of their top corners as well. If he's off the field, that just kind of closes a slight door. Richland's offense is obviously going to overcome anything, but he's one of the true difference makers in this game.
All right, Jim. Say if Flick plays, what will be the key matchups that you were looking forward to? We had that week 2 with Forrest Hills McCourt. We had Jordan Spangler and Jared Show playing. Is it going to be another one of those things you're seeing, who the offensive playmakers are, or is it something that you're going to look at more towards the defense?
Obviously the matchup, the Spangler Flick matchup would be exciting to watch. I don't feel Jordan Spangler really gets the true appreciation he deserves throughout the whole Laurel Highlands. Mm-hmm. The kids, he does everything: kick, punt, return, corner, receiver. He's really an all over the field type of player. He's having a great year catching the ball. I saw last week he had a great double coverage over the shoulder catch on Bedford. The kid is, he's really put in the work to be where he is right now, and he's just a great player. And opposite him, Luke DeFrancesco, a junior, he stepped into a new role this season. He's getting the ball a lot. So McCourt has 2 really good receivers. Obviously that matchup's big, but I'm all interested to see Richland's line, which is a veteran line. They've been around. There's 4 starters back from last season against Bishop McCourt's defensive line. Gap Barban's going to be playing that nose guard position. He's one of the best players in the conference. But then you have the 2 big tackles, Roman and Dorn. Huge kids. I think Roman goes at 290. Dorn goes 330. And we're expecting to see Bishop McCourt's Dustin Belsky back this week, and he really shores up that defensive line. He's about a 6', 210, real strong kid, and Seawee at the other end. So McCourt's defensive line going up against Richland's offensive line is really that matchup you want to see. Because I think McCourt's size, Richland's experience, it's going to be a good hard-nosed battle in a fast-paced game.
Looking here then towards what we're going to pick, who's going to win, Bishop McCourt, Richland. Jim, I know that you wrote on your blog already that Richland would win. What was your score for that?
I had the game going 38-28. I mean, McCourt's biggest suspect right now is the pass defense, and of course Richland's biggest strength is the pass offense. So obviously I made that pick before knowing if Flick would play or not. I'm assuming he's still going to play, so my pick will stand true. But, even though he might not be 100% in this game, so that's a big neutralizing effect and could slow Richland down and could, McCourt's passing game, which has been a little underrated too, Zane Tomkowski doing a good job at quarterback, that opens up Spangler and DeFrancesco a little bit more. So really, Flick is the key to the whole game. If he plays or if he doesn't play. If he plays, Richland's the better team. If he doesn't play, McCourt has a lot more opportunities to win this game. I'm just assuming he's playing, and I'm going to stick with my 38-28 score.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Jim, it's been funny that, us being both Bishop McCourt grads, I think we've bet against them 3 out of the past 4 times or something, but at least for me, it's not changing here. Richland, something that really helps them is the fact that they were at Mansion Park last year. They know what it takes to get there, and I don't think that they're going to kind of let up for a game like this, and I think that Richland takes it around that same score.
Sounds good. So that'll wrap up our podcast this week. Please tune in. We're going to be able to broadcast the game to you live at Richland. We know will be no technical difficulties. We've done it before at Richland. We have to thank Brandon Bailey. He's a big supporter of D6 Sports Network. He allows us to do this game. He's also the athletic director, principal, what have you. So, he's a great guy, great coach. We're expecting a great matchup with Bishop McCourt, Richland. 2 teams, it's a rivalry. They're not big fans of each other. There's going to be a little trash talking in the crowd and on the field. So it's going to be one of those games you're going to want to tune into. So please check it out, and good night.
Good night.